It's been a sad, terrible start to the new year for several communities in the Western Cape. They have been left reeling following devastating fires that gutted their homes. Close to 1,000 people have been left displaced and several people have died. Our reporter Ronald Masinda has more from Pola Park.
All right, so official confirmation, as you rightly said, one person has sadly died in the fire that took place here in the early hours of this morning. What we've also been told is that at least 207 structures have been gutted here in Pola Park. It is an area where people have been living here since 2003. Now, having spoken to Zandile Tefo, a young woman who came here to check up on her family members. She was told by family members in the Eastern Cape to check up on her aunt who lives here. And sadly, during our previous crossing, that announcement was made that her aunt was sadly no more. I am joined by Mr. Mtiana. He is the chairperson here of Pola Park to tell us more. Mr. Mtiana, devastating news, Tata, but tell us more perhaps as to what people saw here.
Firstly, and sadly, I want to pass the condolences to the family of Nomhletafu, who's 30 years old lady, who's been a dweller with us here for a very long time. What happened exactly, if I'm good in terms of timing, it was around 2 a.m. after electricity came back after a load shedding of 2 hours. We were joyful because of the new year. Suddenly, we hear the call that there's a fire around the area. And I was still up at that time. We managed to go through to verify, and we realized that the area is burning. And it was like hell, if I can tell you. And we realized that because of the wind, the fire was blowing fast. And sadly, the lady, which is Nomhletaf, we realized that it's where the fire started.
So you're saying that's where it actually started. Was she living alone at the time? Do we know her living conditions at this stage? And also, perhaps in terms of the rescue efforts, who was behind the rescue efforts during that time?
Yes, it is confirmed even by her sisters. For so long, when this happened, she was alone. And the neighbors, they tried very hard to rescue her. And she was well awake because she was shouting for people to help her. And they were trying, but the problem, fire was already up. And the problem also, the structure that she was within, it was burglared. So the burglar was very hot, according to the neighbors that managed to reach first. And when we reached there, everything was already up.
Were firefighters quick on the scene? Was it purely based on the intervention of neighbors trying to assist her to save other lives around the area?
I won't lie. When it comes to neighbors, they were the first responders. And they fight fire very hard. But because of due to the wind, they were not able to cover the structures that were around. But when it comes to firefighters, after we contacted them and they realized really what's happening, they managed to reach up. And I won't lie, in terms of the distances we are, I regarded it was very quick. And more especially, I still believe if firefighters were not quick as much as it was, the damage was supposed to be more with what is now. So all in all, firefighters managed to salvage us that much. But when it comes to even firefighters, when we were already here, the problem of, as you know, Wind of Cape Town, they come with all the tanks, and it was from Circle Side, where the Rochester Road is. They managed to equip the fire, but the problem is the wind was changing now and again. Hence, the damage was more wide.
To my understanding, this is not the first time that this place has been ravaged by fire. What has been done to try and reduce the risk? Have you been speaking to the city of Cape Town? What sort of assistance have you received over the years?
That's really, and it's the truth of the Lord. Since the establishment of this area, we've been going through the fire now and again, more especially on Christmas times as it is. We've been we've been dealing with the city regarding this. Now and again, when it comes to the city, since the days of the mayor before Patricia Delil, we were dealing with this issue of the housing. Even the mayor after that, we were dealing with him regarding this. But when it comes to,
let me come in there. What has their response been? Are they saying to you, perhaps, and I'm only assuming, because you've occupied this land possibly illegally, that you won't be getting the services? What are they saying to you exactly?
This area is serviced, and it was confirmed by then when they established it. We are in the municipal land. But their case was always that this space that we are in, they cannot develop it and structures us here, because this space is small for us, which is the structures here, because it's more than the structures is more than 1,000 something. So they said that they need us they will look for us the developed land, and we identified the lands that are around us, because we have almost 3 fields that is open space here. So they always promise us. Even the last time, which is it was Patricia Delil, he sent the verifiers. They verify, and all the lands. They managed to see it's a municipal land. But the promise was always they're gonna build us. They're gonna build us until now. But I'm telling you, now and again this happens. But one thing I want to put a thumb on it. When it comes to city and this area, they always parallel to us. We're still waiting even for the national. What does they think about us?
All right. Just very lastly, where to from here? I mean, many people have lost so much. People that we spoke to earlier. And it's basically the worst possible start to the new year.
It is worst possible start of the new year. We can't even say Happy New Year to our families. To answer your question exact, really, since the time we've been dealing with the city, I don't know. I will be honest, I don't know where to hear. But I think it's supposed to be the city, which is the mayor that is promised us, and it's the city for the people. They're supposed to look at us now. As we have been saying, this is a disaster. Now it's a disaster to happen. Now disaster happened. Now we want to understand what does the Mayor Lewis is going to do to us. Even the national office of Kuba in Ngubane, she's supposed to look at this, because if we're dealing the city and the city is parallel to us, somewhere we're supposed to be perpendicular with, even if national, if that city doesn't want to be perpendicular with us.
Thank you so much for your time. Shatika, that was the chairperson of Pola Park, and I must emphasize that this is the 1st of January, a time where many of the people around us are supposed to be out at beaches celebrating the occasion, but unfortunately this is the situation here.
Staying with that story, now Give to the Givers has dispatched teams to areas affected by those fires in different parts of the Western Cape. Spokesperson Ali Sablé says they've been responding to calls for assistance since Friday.
We were called out on Friday in the afternoon, where community members, the local disaster risk management, called our teams informing us of a disaster. When we arrived on site, we saw close to 200 structures has been completely burnt out, leaving 300 people plus displaced. And what was sad about that disaster is all the people, most of the people of that informal settlement were at work. We witnessed people coming from the taxis, running immediately to the disaster scene. We saw one mother, when she came to a place and she saw it's burnt out, she threw herself on the debris and burst out and started crying uncontrollably. She then informed us this is all what she had. She's a casual worker, and with the busy season in Cape Town, she managed to find employment. And with a little bit of money she was making, she was able to buy a children's new school uniform, as well as stationery that is completely burnt out. Some of the people were in the Eastern Cape as well. Yesterday, our teams were busy in Masipumalele, where 79 people have been displaced. unfortunately, 3 people has lost their lives. And this morning at 4 a.m., we received frantic calls from the community of Pola Park